The city lights sparkled like 1,000 tiny stars as the gala event unfolded in the grand ballroom. The opulent venue, adorned with shimmering chandeliers and lavish decorations, hosted the city's elite, all elegantly dressed in designer suits and gowns. The air was filled with a symphony of clinking glasses, hushed conversations, and the occasional burst of laughter. Among the guests was Marcus Hale, a renowned football star whose presence seemed to illuminate the room even more than the chandeliers. Marcus, ever the picture of charisma and charm, was the center of attention. His effortless smile and relaxed demeanor drew admiration and envy alike. Yet, beneath the surface of this polished exterior, there was a genuine warmth and compassion that guided his actions. As the evening wore on, Marcus found himself drifting away from the main crowd, seeking a moment of quiet reflection away from the glittering chaos. Outside the ballroom, the cool night air was a stark contrast to the heat inside. Marcus leaned against the marble balustrade, gazing out over the city. The serenity of the night was abruptly interrupted by the sound of a child's cry and a woman's pleading voice. Curious and concerned, Marcus followed the sounds to a shadowy corner of the street. There, huddled under a threadbare blanket, was a young mother and her child. The woman's face was etched with weariness and worry, her clothes barely adequate for the chilly night. The child, no older than 4, clung to her side, his wide eyes reflecting the streetlight's dim glow. Marcus's heart ached at the sight, so different from the opulence he had just left behind. Without hesitation, Marcus approached them. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle but filled with concern. The woman looked up, surprise and skepticism clouding her expression. She was not accustomed to such kindness from strangers, especially not someone of his stature. "I'm Marcus," he continued, offering a reassuring smile. "I'd like to help. Can you tell me what happened?" The woman hesitated. Then, seeing the sincerity in Marcus's eyes, she began to speak. Her name was Emily, and her son was named Noah. They had fallen on hard times after a series of misfortunes, ending up on the streets despite her best efforts to find stable work. Marcus listened intently, his heart heavy with empathy. "I have a place where you can stay," Marcus said. "It's not much, but it's warm and safe. I can't bear to see you out here like this." Emily's eyes widened, tears welling up as she struggled to believe in the offer. "Are you sure? We wouldn't want to be a burden." "Not at all," Marcus assured her. "Please, come with me. Let's get you both somewhere comfortable." As they walked together to Marcus's car, the contrast between his life and Emily's was glaringly evident. Marcus's luxurious vehicle and the sprawling mansion that awaited them were a far cry from the harsh reality Emily and Noah had known. When they arrived at the mansion, Emily and Noah were awestruck by the sheer grandeur of the place. Marcus led them inside, where warmth and light greeted them. The transition from the cold, dark street to the inviting home was jarring, yet deeply comforting. Emily marveled at the opulence, her initial apprehension slowly giving way to gratitude. Marcus showed them to their room, a beautifully furnished guest suite that would be theirs for as long as they needed. He made sure they were settled, ensuring they had everything they needed for the night. As he watched them, a flicker of satisfaction crossed his face. He had done something good, something that would make a real difference in their lives. The next morning, Emily and Noah awoke to a new reality. The mansion's breakfast spread was unlike anything they had ever seen, and for a moment, the harshness of their past seemed like a distant memory. Marcus, though, remained quietly contemplative. He was deeply moved by the encounter but also curious about the lives he had chosen to intervene in. As he watched Emily and Noah begin to adjust to their new surroundings, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this act of kindness was just the beginning of something far more complex and challenging. Little did he know, the journey ahead would test his perceptions of generosity and destiny in ways he could never have imagined. And so, as the days began to unfold, the path before Marcus, Emily, and Noah was set. The opulence of the mansion would become a backdrop for a story that went far beyond the surface of wealth and comfort, unraveling truths and challenges that would reshape their lives in unforeseen ways. The sun rose gently over the city, casting a golden hue across the sprawling mansion. Emily and Noah awoke to the soft hum of the central heating and the scent of freshly brewed coffee. For a moment, the warmth and comfort of their new surroundings felt like a dream. Emily blinked away the remnants of sleep, her eyes adjusting to the luxurious room she found herself in. The opulence of the guest suite was a stark contrast to the cold, hard reality of the streets she had known. As Emily carefully dressed Noah in the clothes Marcus had provided, she marveled at the softness of the fabrics and the array of options available. Each piece seemed like a small luxury, a far cry from the ragged garments she had grown accustomed to. Noah, meanwhile, was entranced by the colorful array of toys and books in the room. His laughter echoed through the space, a sound that Emily hadn't heard in a long time. Downstairs, Marcus had arranged an elaborate breakfast spread: golden croissants, fresh fruit, and an assortment of juices and cereals. The scent of freshly baked goods filled the air, a sensory delight that was both comforting and overwhelming. Emily and Noah entered the dining room, their eyes widening at the sight of the table. Marcus greeted them warmly, his own smile a mix of satisfaction and curiosity. "Good morning," he said, gesturing to the spread. "I hope you both slept well. Please help yourselves." Emily hesitated, her fingers lightly grazing the edge of a croissant as if afraid it might vanish. "This is incredible. Thank you, Marcus." "No need to thank me," Marcus replied. "You're both welcome here. It's the least I can do." As they ate, Marcus engaged Emily in light conversation, trying to learn more about her and Noah. He discovered bits and pieces about their past, but Emily remained cautious, offering only enough to satisfy his curiosity without revealing too much. It was clear that she was grateful but still hesitant, her eyes often darting around as if to confirm that this new reality was indeed real. Later that morning, Marcus offered to give Emily a tour of the mansion. She walked through the grand hallways, her steps echoing off the marble floors. Each room they passed seemed more lavish than the last. A library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a home theater with plush seating, and a garden with exotic plants and a serene fountain. Emily's awe was palpable. Her wide eyes took in every detail, her fingers brushing the intricate moldings and rich textures. "This is beautiful," she said softly, almost to herself. "I've never seen anything like this." Marcus smiled, watching her reaction with a mixture of pride and contemplation. "I'm glad you like it. I hope it brings some comfort and stability." The tour ended in a cozy sitting room, where Marcus invited Emily to sit and relax. He had arranged for a counselor to visit and offer support if needed, understanding the emotional toll of such a dramatic shift in circumstances. As the day progressed, Emily began to explore the mansion more freely, her initial hesitance giving way to a tentative comfort. She found solace in the small things: the warmth of a heated blanket, the gentle hum of the air conditioning, the softness of a new robe. Each moment was a reminder of the stark contrast between her past and present. Noah adapted quickly, his laughter and energy filling the mansion with a sense of vitality that was both infectious and endearing. He quickly became fascinated with the mansion's many rooms, finding new nooks to explore and new games to play. Emily watched him with a mixture of relief and concern, grateful for the joy he found but wary of the uncertainty that still lingered in her heart. As the sun set and the mansion was bathed in the soft glow of twilight, Emily and Noah settled into their new routine. Marcus joined them for dinner, and the evening was filled with pleasant conversation and laughter. The initial awkwardness had given way to a tentative camaraderie, as if they were all slowly adjusting to the new dynamic. Before retiring for the night, Emily stood by the window of their room, gazing out at the city lights twinkling in the distance. The life she had known seemed like a distant memory, and the uncertainty of the future loomed large. Yet, for the first time in a long while, she felt a flicker of hope. As she turned away from the window, Noah was already asleep, his tiny form nestled comfortably in bed. Emily quietly slipped under the covers, her mind still reeling from the whirlwind of the past days. She knew that this new life came with its own set of challenges and adjustments, but for now, she allowed herself to savor the unexpected comfort and safety that Marcus had provided. Little did she know that this new chapter in their lives was only beginning, and the journey ahead would test their resilience and redefine their understanding of kindness and destiny. The morning light filtered softly through the grand windows of the mansion, casting a warm glow over the breakfast table where Marcus, Emily, and Noah gathered. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the scent of warm pastries, creating an inviting atmosphere. Emily, now more relaxed in her surroundings, engaged in light conversation with Marcus as they ate. "Do you have any plans for today?" Marcus asked, trying to keep the conversation casual. He was keenly aware that Emily was adjusting to her new life, and he wanted to provide a sense of normalcy. Emily smiled faintly. "I was thinking of exploring the garden with Noah. It's been a while since we've been outside." As they finished their breakfast, Marcus excused himself, citing a busy day ahead. He had a series of meetings and events planned, leaving Emily and Noah to their own devices. Marcus's departure was a relief for Emily. It allowed her some space to reflect on the strange turn her life had taken. The mansion seemed quieter in Marcus's absence, and Emily took the opportunity to delve deeper into her new surroundings. She wandered through various rooms, noting the grandeur and meticulous attention to detail in each. The library caught her eye, and she found herself drawn to the row of bookshelves, filled with classic literature and historical tomes. As she browsed the shelves, Emily's gaze fell upon a framed photograph on a nearby table. It depicted Marcus standing with a woman and a young boy, presumably his family. The woman's features were strikingly familiar, and Emily's heart skipped a beat. She remembered a news story she had seen about a high-profile family with a tragic backstory. A chill ran down her spine as she considered the possibility that this might be the same family. Emily tried to shake off the unease, but her mind raced with questions. Why did the woman in the photograph look so much like her? Was it possible that there was a connection she hadn't yet uncovered? The day continued with Emily trying to distract herself by spending time with Noah in the garden. The vibrant colors of blooming flowers and the soothing sound of the fountain provided a temporary escape from her swirling thoughts. Noah played happily, his laughter echoing through the serene space. Emily watched him, her heart full of conflicting emotions. When Marcus returned in the late afternoon, he found Emily waiting for him in the study. She looked more serious than usual, her brow furrowed in thought. Marcus noticed the change but chose to address it gently. "Everything all right?" he asked, his tone concerned. Emily hesitated before speaking. "I found a photograph today in the library. It looked like it might be related to a news story I saw a while back. The woman in the photo, she looked a lot like someone I remember from that story." Marcus's expression shifted from concern to curiosity. "What news story are you referring to?" Emily described the story she had seen about a high-profile family and their struggles. Marcus listened intently, his face betraying no emotion. "I see," he said finally. "I'm afraid I can't discuss much about my family's past. It's a sensitive topic." Emily felt a pang of disappointment but tried to hide it. "I understand. I didn't mean to intrude." Marcus's demeanor softened. "It's not that. It's just, there are things in the past that are difficult to talk about." The conversation ended on a note of tension, with Emily feeling unsettled but reluctant to press further. Marcus, on the other hand, felt a rising sense of unease. Emily's discovery was a reminder of the delicate balance he had to maintain between his public persona and his private life. As evening approached, Emily's mind remained preoccupied with the photograph and the unsettling sense of familiarity. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story, a hidden layer that she was not yet privy to. In the quiet of her room, as Noah drifted off to sleep, Emily sat by the window, gazing out at the city lights. The mansion, once a symbol of hope and refuge, now seemed to hold secrets and unanswered questions. The more she pondered the connections between her past and Marcus's family, the more she felt that the layers of their lives were intertwined in ways she had yet to fully understand. With each passing day, the initial relief of their new life was giving way to a complex web of revelations and suspicions. Emily knew that the path ahead would require navigating not only the challenges of her new environment, but also the mysteries that lay hidden beneath the surface. As she closed her eyes, the sense of foreboding lingered, promising that the journey ahead would be anything but straightforward. The morning sun streamed through the expansive windows of the mansion, casting long golden rays across the grand hallway. Emily, determined to find some semblance of normalcy, decided to spend her day exploring the nearby town, hoping it might help her understand the new world she found herself in. With Noah in tow, she dressed him warmly and set out, the promise of a fresh start tinged with lingering questions. As they ventured into the town, Emily marveled at the bustling streets and quaint shops that seemed a world apart from the mansion's opulence. The vibrant marketplace was alive with activity, and for a moment, she allowed herself to enjoy the simple pleasure of browsing through the local stalls. Noah's excitement at seeing colorful toys and treats brought a smile to Emily's face, a small comfort amid her inner turmoil. However, amidst the normalcy, Emily's thoughts kept drifting back to the photograph she had seen in the mansion's library. The resemblance between the woman in the picture and herself was haunting. She felt a growing need to understand more about the connections that might link her past to Marcus's world. Later that afternoon, Emily stumbled upon a small, charming bookstore nestled between two cafes. The store's inviting atmosphere, with its cozy reading nooks and the rich scent of old books, offered a comforting refuge. She entered, hoping to lose herself in the pages of a book and temporarily silence her troubling thoughts. As she browsed the shelves, her eyes fell upon a local history section. Among the books, one particularly caught her attention: The Lives of Our City's Most Notable Families. With a mix of curiosity and apprehension, Emily pulled the book from the shelf and began to flip through its pages. The book detailed the history of prominent families in the area, including the Hale family. Her heart raced as she skimmed the chapters, searching for any mention of the woman in the photograph. She soon found a section about the Hale family's tragic past. It spoke of a young woman, a beloved figure, who had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The narrative described her as a philanthropist who had dedicated her life to helping others before her sudden disappearance. Emily's hands trembled as she read. The details matched those of the woman she had seen in the photograph. She realized with a sinking feeling that the connection between her and the Hale family was not just a coincidence. The story painted a picture of a family shattered by loss and intrigue, with the missing woman's fate remaining a mystery. Deep in thought, Emily decided to visit the local historical society, hoping to find more information. The society's modest building was filled with archival materials and friendly staff eager to assist. Emily introduced herself and explained her interest in learning more about the Hale family's history. The archivist, a middle-aged woman with a warm smile, led Emily to a small, quiet room filled with files and old photographs. "We have a few records related to the Hale family," the archivist said, pulling out a file. "Feel free to look through these and let me know if you need any help." Emily meticulously examined the documents and photographs, piecing together fragments of the Hale family's past. She found references to charity events, community work, and the enigmatic disappearance of the woman she now knew to be named Isabel Hale. Each new detail seemed to confirm her growing suspicion that there was more to the story, a narrative that intertwined with her own life in unexpected ways. As the sun began to set, Emily returned to the mansion, her mind swirling with the revelations of the day. She was determined to uncover more about Isabel Hale and understand how her story connected with Marcus and her own family. Back at the mansion, Marcus was in the midst of his evening routine when he saw Emily enter. Her expression was one of deep contemplation, and he sensed that she had been on a quest for answers. "Did you find what you were looking for?" Marcus asked, his voice tinged with concern. Emily looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of resolve and hesitation. "I learned some things today, about the Hale family, about Isabel. There's a connection I can't ignore." Marcus's demeanor shifted to one of guarded curiosity. "What connection?" Emily took a deep breath, her thoughts racing. "The woman in the photograph, Isabel Hale, her story is intertwined with mine in ways I hadn't expected. I need to understand more about her past." Marcus studied her for a moment, his expression unreadable. "It's a complicated story. I'm not sure if now is the right time." Emily's resolve hardened. I need to know. I have to understand what's really going on. The conversation hung in the air, charged with unspoken questions and a growing sense of urgency. As Emily retreated to her room, the weight of her discoveries pressed heavily on her shoulders. She knew that uncovering the truth would be a challenging journey, but she was determined to pursue it, no matter where it might lead. As the night settled over the mansion, Emily sat by her window, her gaze fixed on the distant city lights. The mansion, once a symbol of refuge, now felt like a labyrinth of secrets and unanswered questions. The path ahead was shrouded in mystery, and Emily was ready to navigate its twists and turns, hoping to uncover the truth behind the past that seemed to echo through the halls of the mansion and her own life. The mansion was enveloped in the soft, muted tones of early morning. The aroma of coffee and freshly baked bread wafted through the hallways, a comforting start to what Emily hoped would be a more settled day. But beneath the calm surface, tension simmered. As Emily and Noah gathered for breakfast in the grand dining room, Marcus's presence was notably absent. His usual routine of joining them for the morning meal was disrupted by a series of urgent phone calls. Emily tried to focus on the meal, but her thoughts were preoccupied with the recent discoveries about Isabel Hale and the connection to her own past. "Where's Marcus?" Emily asked, breaking the silence. The housekeeper, a kindly woman named Martha, looked up from her duties. "He's caught up with some pressing matters this morning. I'm sure he'll be here soon." Emily nodded, though her curiosity remained piqued. With Marcus absent, she found herself alone with her thoughts, and the burden of her new knowledge weighed heavily on her. She decided to take Noah for a walk in the garden, seeking solace in the fresh air and the rhythmic chirping of the birds. The garden, though beautiful and serene, offered little distraction from the tension she felt. As Noah played nearby, Emily sat on a bench, her mind racing. She needed answers, but the barriers Marcus had placed around the Hale family's past felt insurmountable. The more she uncovered, the more questions seemed to arise, deepening her sense of unease. As the day progressed, Marcus finally emerged from his office, his expression weary but determined. He approached Emily, who was still in the garden, and took a seat beside her. "Good to see you outside," Marcus said, trying to sound cheerful. "I apologize for my absence this morning. Things have been quite hectic." Emily turned to him, her eyes filled with a mixture of frustration and determination. "Marcus, I need to talk to you about Isabel Hale. There are things I don't understand, and I feel like there's more you're not telling me." Marcus's face tightened, and he glanced around as if considering how much to reveal. "Emily, I know you've been looking into Isabel's past. I understand your curiosity, but some things are best left alone." Emily's frustration boiled over. "Best left alone? How can you say that? If there's a connection between Isabel's story and mine, I need to know. It's affecting me, affecting Noah." Marcus's demeanor shifted from defensive to apologetic. "It's not that I don't want to help, but there are aspects of Isabel's life that are painful and complex. I'm trying to protect you from those details." The conversation quickly escalated, with Emily's emotions running high. "Protect me? Feels more like you're hiding something. I'm trying to piece together a puzzle, and every time I get close to the truth, you shut me down." Marcus's frustration was palpable. "I'm not trying to shut you down. I'm trying to shield you from unnecessary pain. The Hale family's past is full of tragedy and loss. It's not something I want to revisit or drag you into." Their heated exchange drew Noah's attention, and he approached with wide, concerned eyes. Emily immediately softened, kneeling to his level. "It's okay, sweetheart. Everything's fine." Noah, sensing the tension but not understanding it fully, clung to Emily's side. Marcus watched with a mixture of regret and frustration. "I'm sorry for the tension. It wasn't my intention to upset either of you." The conversation ended on a strained note, with both parties feeling unresolved. Emily retreated to her room, her thoughts swirling with the day's events. Marcus, meanwhile, returned to his office, troubled by the widening rift between him and Emily. As evening descended, Emily found herself reflecting on the morning's arguments. The mansion, which had once seemed like a haven, now felt like a labyrinth of unspoken truths and strained relationships. She knew that the more she dug into the past, the more likely it was to affect her relationship with Marcus. In the quiet of her room, Emily made a decision. She would continue her quest for answers, but she would also seek a way to bridge the gap between herself and Marcus. The journey ahead was fraught with challenges, but she was determined to face them head-on. As she prepared for bed, Noah's soft breathing provided a small comfort. Despite the tension and misunderstandings, she was resolved to create a stable and loving environment for him. The road ahead was uncertain, but Emily's commitment to uncovering the truth and finding peace remained unwavering. The mansion's opulence seemed a distant backdrop to the emotional and personal struggles that now defined their lives. With the night's darkness enveloping the mansion, Emily felt a renewed sense of determination. She knew that the path to understanding would be fraught with obstacles, but she was ready to confront them, hoping that clarity and resolution were within reach. The morning mist clung to the mansion's sprawling gardens, giving the estate an ethereal quality. Emily woke early, her mind still churning from the previous day's arguments and revelations. The air felt thick with anticipation as she mentally prepared for what she hoped would be a breakthrough in her search for answers. With determination guiding her, Emily decided to revisit the Historical Society to delve deeper into Isabel Hale's past. She had spent the previous night poring over old documents and photographs, and a nagging thought had persisted. There was something she was missing, something crucial that could tie everything together. As she walked through the mansion's grand entrance, the early morning light bathed the marble floors in a soft glow. Noah was still asleep, his innocent dreams undisturbed by the complexities of adult concerns. Emily quietly slipped out, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Arriving at the Historical Society, she was greeted by the archivist from the day before, who was busy organizing stacks of files. Emily wasted no time in diving back into the archives, her eyes scanning the documents with renewed fervor. In a secluded corner of the archive room, Emily found a file that seemed to stand out among the others. The label read, Isabel Hale, Personal Correspondence. Her pulse quickened as she carefully opened the file, revealing a collection of letters and personal notes. The first letter was dated several decades ago and addressed to Isabel from an unknown sender. As Emily read through the letter, it became clear that the writer was someone deeply connected to Isabel, someone with intimate knowledge of her life. The tone of the letter was filled with longing and regret, and it spoke of a love lost and a promise of secrecy. The next letter in the file was even more revealing. It was a detailed account of a secret affair and a child born from that union. Emily's eyes widened as she realized that the child in question was described in a manner that eerily matched her own circumstances. The letters hinted at a scandalous affair and a desperate attempt to protect the child from public scrutiny. The final letter, dated shortly before Isabel's disappearance, was a heartfelt confession. Isabel wrote of her plans to leave behind her old life and start anew, but there were also veiled references to dangers and threats she faced. The letter ended abruptly, leaving Emily with a sense of foreboding. With her heart pounding, Emily rushed back to the mansion. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but she knew she had to confront Marcus with what she had discovered. The stakes had never felt higher. Upon arriving, she found Marcus in his study, his face etched with worry. Emily's arrival seemed to catch him off guard. "Marcus, we need to talk," she said, her voice trembling with urgency. Marcus looked up, his expression shifting to one of concern. "What's wrong?" Emily took a deep breath, her hands clutching the stack of letters she had brought. "I found something at the Historical Society. It's about Isabel Hale, about her past. There's something you need to know." She handed the letters to Marcus, who took them with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. As he read through the correspondence, his face grew increasingly pale. The weight of the revelations seemed to sink in, and he looked up at Emily, his eyes filled with a mix of guilt and sorrow. "I had hoped to keep this from you," Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Isabel was my mother. The letters you found, they reveal a part of our family's history that has been buried for a long time. Emily's heart raced as she absorbed this new piece of information. So, the connection between Isabel and me? Yes, Marcus interrupted, his voice laden with regret. Isabel's affair led to the birth of a child, your mother. I've known about this for years, but I thought it was best to leave it in the past. The letter suggests that your mother was born from this secret relationship, and Isabel's disappearance was tied to efforts to protect her and the child. Emily was stunned. Why didn't you tell me sooner? This changes everything. Marcus struggled to find the right words. I didn't want to burden you with the complexities of my family's history. I thought it was best to protect you from the pain that comes with knowing the full truth. The room was filled with a heavy silence. Emily felt a mixture of betrayal and empathy. She understood Marcus's intentions, but the deception had created a chasm between them. I appreciate your concern, but I needed to know the truth. It's a part of who I am. Marcus nodded, his face etched with remorse. I understand. I should have trusted you with this from the beginning. The revelation brought a new level of understanding to their relationship, but it also left Emily grappling with the implications for her own identity and future. The mansion, once a symbol of refuge, now seemed like a stage for a complex family drama. As the day wore on, Emily and Marcus navigated the aftermath of the revelation. They spoke candidly about their feelings, and Marcus shared more about his own struggle with the family's hidden past. The conversation was difficult, but it marked the beginning of a new chapter in their relationship, one built on honesty and mutual understanding. As evening approached, Emily took a moment to reflect on the day's events. The mansion's grandeur seemed to echo the complexity of the story that had unfolded. The truth, though painful, had brought clarity and a new sense of direction. Emily knew that the journey ahead would still be challenging, but she was ready to face it with renewed resolve. The secrets of the past had been revealed, and now it was up to her to forge a path forward, one that embraced both the truth and the hope for a better future. The mansion was bathed in the soft, golden light of late afternoon. The grandeur of the estate seemed subdued, almost as if it was holding its breath after the revelations of the past few days. Emily sat alone in the library, the room's high shelves lined with books and mementos from bygone eras. The weight of the recent discoveries pressed heavily upon her shoulders. She had spent the morning trying to come to terms with the shocking truth about her mother's origins and Isabel Hale's hidden past. Each letter, each piece of evidence seemed to unravel more than she had anticipated. As she looked out the large, arched windows of the library, her mind was a turbulent sea of conflicting emotions. Noah was playing in the garden with Martha, giving Emily a rare moment of solitude. She took advantage of the peace to contemplate her next steps. The mansion's silence was occasionally broken by the distant sound of laughter and the rustle of leaves in the wind. The calm outside contrasted sharply with the storm inside her. Marcus entered the library, his face drawn and tired. He had been dealing with the fallout of the revelations, trying to smooth over the tensions and come to terms with the family history. He looked at Emily, his expression a mix of concern and uncertainty. Emily, Marcus began, his voice gentle but earnest. We need to talk about what comes next. The truth is out, but it's clear that we have some difficult decisions to make. Emily turned to him, her eyes reflecting the depth of her inner conflict. Yes, we do. I've been thinking about it all day. The letters revealed so much, but now I'm at a crossroads. I need to decide how to move forward, whether to confront the past directly or try to build a future that's free from its shadows. Marcus approached her, taking a seat across from her. I understand. This isn't an easy situation, and it's not one that can be resolved quickly. But I want you to know that I'm here to support you, whatever you decide. The sincerity in his voice was comforting, yet it didn't fully dispel the weight of the decision Emily faced. There are so many questions, she said quietly, and I'm not sure I have all the answers. Do I seek out more information about my mother and Isabel? Or do I focus on creating a new chapter for Noah and myself? Marcus looked thoughtful. There's no easy answer. Sometimes the hardest part is knowing how much of the past is worth revisiting and how much is best left behind. You have to balance your need for answers with the well-being of your family. The words hung in the air, and Emily felt the gravity of the situation pressing down on her. She had always valued clarity, but the clarity she sought came with the potential for more pain. The decisions she faced were as complex as the family history that had been revealed to her. She stood up and walked over to the large desk, where she picked up a framed photograph of Isabel Hale. The image of a young woman with a hopeful expression seemed to speak to her, urging her to understand her legacy but also to find her own path. "I've been so focused on uncovering the truth," Emily said, her voice tinged with resolve, "that I forgot to consider how it might affect Noah. I need to protect him from unnecessary pain while also finding a way to reconcile with my own past." Marcus nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. "It's a difficult balance. Whatever decision you make, it should be one that aligns with what you feel is right for you and Noah. And remember, you don't have to make it alone." Emily's gaze softened as she looked at Marcus. "Thank you. Your support means a lot. I need to take some time to think things through and consider all the possible outcomes." As the sun began to set, casting a warm, amber glow over the library, Emily felt a sense of calm settling over her. The decision ahead was daunting, but she knew she had to face it with clarity and courage. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the choices she would have to make. Marcus stood up, his presence a steady anchor in the sea of uncertainty. "I'll give you the space you need. Just know that I'm here for you, no matter what." Emily offered a small, grateful smile. "Thank you, Marcus." With that, Marcus left the library, leaving Emily alone with her thoughts once more. She sat quietly, absorbing the peaceful ambience of the room. The difficult decision lay before her, but she felt a sense of determination to navigate it with grace and resolve. The mansion's silence enveloped her like a cocoon, offering solace and clarity as she prepared to confront the challenges ahead. The dawn broke over the mansion with an almost palpable sense of tension. The sun's rays filtered through the ornate curtains of Emily's room, casting long, dramatic shadows on the floor. The soft light was a stark contrast to the storm brewing within Emily's heart. Today was the day she had decided to face Marcus and confront the full implications of their recent discoveries. Emily rose early, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. She moved methodically through her morning routine, each action done with a purpose. She dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that was both professional and approachable, knowing that the conversation ahead would require a delicate balance of honesty and empathy. As she made her way downstairs, the mansion seemed unusually quiet. The grand hallways, with their high ceilings and polished floors, felt more like a maze than a home. Emily's footsteps echoed softly as she walked towards the study, where Marcus had agreed to meet her. Marcus was already there, seated behind his massive oak desk. The room, with its dark wood paneling and large bookshelves, was both imposing and comforting. Marcus looked up as Emily entered, his expression a mix of apprehension and resolve. "Emily," he said, standing to greet her. "Thank you for coming." Emily nodded, her heart racing as she took a seat across from him. "I appreciate you making time to talk. There are some things we need to address, things that can't be ignored any longer." Marcus's face was serious, but there was a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. "I agree. Let's talk." Emily took a deep breath, her hands gripping the armrests of the chair as she gathered her thoughts. "The letters revealed a lot, and I've been doing a lot of thinking. It's clear that the past has affected us all in ways we're only beginning to understand." Marcus nodded slowly. "I know. It's been a heavy burden for both of us." Emily's gaze was steady as she continued. "I need to understand why the secrets were kept for so long. I need to know what really happened with Isabel Hale and why my mother's past was hidden from me." Marcus's expression hardened slightly. "It was never my intention to deceive you. I thought I was protecting you from a painful truth. But I see now that keeping secrets only creates more pain." The weight of his words hung heavily in the room. Emily's voice softened as she spoke. "I've realized that the truth is important, but so is moving forward. We need to address the changes that this revelation has brought into our lives." Marcus leaned forward, his hands clasped together. "What changes are you referring to?" Emily met his gaze with determination. We need to rethink our approach to the future. Noah deserves to grow up in a stable, loving environment. We can't let the shadows of the past dictate his life. Marcus's eyes softened with a hint of sadness. You're right. We need to focus on what's best for Noah. And we need to find a way to come to terms with our past while building a better future. The conversation was emotionally charged, but it marked a turning point. Emily and Marcus began to discuss practical steps to address the impact of their discoveries. They talked about seeking professional help to navigate the emotional complexities, creating a more transparent and supportive environment for Noah, and finding ways to reconcile their own feelings about the past. As the discussion continued, Emily felt a sense of relief and empowerment. The confrontation had been difficult, but it had also led to important decisions about how to move forward. The mansion, once a symbol of hidden truths, now felt like a place of potential change and renewal. The evening approached, casting a warm, golden light through the study's windows. The conversation had been intense, but it had also been constructive. Emily and Marcus had reached a mutual understanding about the importance of facing the past while focusing on the future. As they finished their discussion, Marcus extended a hand towards Emily. "Thank you for having this conversation. It's been hard, but I believe it's a step in the right direction." Emily shook his hand, a small but genuine smile on her face. "I agree. It's time for us to make changes and move forward together." With the conversation concluded, Emily left the study feeling a renewed sense of purpose. The mansion, with its storied past and complex present, now seemed to hold a promise for the future. As she walked through the grand hallways, she felt a quiet determination to embrace the changes ahead and create a positive environment for Noah. The day's events had been a catalyst for transformation, and Emily knew that the road ahead would still be challenging. But with the decisions made and the future mapped out, she was ready to face the next chapter with hope and resilience. The mansion was cloaked in darkness as night descended, its grandeur now subdued by the encroaching shadows. The grand hallways, usually so lively with the hum of activity, seemed silent and cold. Emily wandered through the dimly lit corridors, her footsteps echoing softly against the marble floors. The weight of recent revelations and decisions felt like a leaden cloak around her shoulders. The confrontation with Marcus had provided some clarity, but it had also stirred up a storm of uncertainty and emotional turmoil. Now, as she moved through the house, her thoughts were heavy with the realization of just how far-reaching and painful the past could be. Emily reached the library, the same room where she had once found solace in the calm of the books and the soft light filtering through the windows. Tonight, however, it seemed like a sanctuary for her darkest thoughts. She sank into a plush armchair, her gaze fixed on the flickering fire in the hearth. Her mind replayed the recent events, each one more painful than the last. The truth about her mother's past, Isabel Hale's hidden life, and the complex emotions they had stirred were almost too much to bear. Emily felt overwhelmed, as if the walls of the mansion were closing in on her. Outside, a storm had begun to brew, the wind howling through the trees and rain pattering against the windows. The tempest outside mirrored the tempest within Emily. She reached for a nearby book, its leather cover worn and familiar, seeking comfort in its pages. But the words seemed to blur, her focus scattered by her inner turmoil. The sound of the storm intensified, growing louder and more insistent. Emily closed her eyes, trying to block out the noise and center her thoughts. But the memories of the past few days, of Marcus's regret, her own fears, and the uncertainty of the future, kept intruding, relentless and unforgiving. A sudden knock at the library door startled Emily. She opened her eyes, her heart pounding. Marcus stood in the doorway, his face etched with concern. He had clearly sensed her distress, and the sight of him was both a relief and a source of further anguish. "Emily, may I come in?" Marcus asked softly. She nodded, unable to speak. Marcus entered and took a seat across from her, the firelight casting a warm glow on his face. He looked at her with a mixture of empathy and helplessness. "I didn't mean to intrude," he said gently. "I could see that something was troubling you." Emily took a deep breath, her voice trembling. Everything feels so overwhelming. I thought we had made progress, but now it feels like we're right back where we started. The weight of all these revelations is crushing. Marcus's expression softened further. His eyes filled with understanding. I know it's been hard. Facing the past is never easy, and sometimes it can feel like the burden is too much to carry. But you don't have to face it alone. The warmth of his words was a small comfort, but it did little to ease the depth of Emily's despair. She looked away from him, her gaze fixed on the fire. The flickering flames seemed to symbolize her internal struggle. Intense, unpredictable, and consuming. I just feel like I'm losing control, Emily confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm afraid of what the future holds, and I don't know if I have the strength to handle it. Marcus reached out, placing a hand gently on hers. It's okay to feel this way. It's normal to have moments of doubt and fear, but you have the strength to get through this. You've already shown so much courage. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she looked at Marcus. His presence, though comforting, couldn't completely dispel the storm inside her. The realization of how much her life had been upended was almost too much to bear. The mansion, with its grandeur and secrets, seemed to mock her, offering no answers and no easy paths forward. Sometimes, it feels like the weight of all these secrets is too much, Emily said, her voice cracking. I thought I could handle it, but now it seems like everything is falling apart. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. It's okay to let it out. Sometimes, sharing the burden with someone else can make it a little lighter. And remember, we can face this together. The storm outside continued to rage, its fury a backdrop to the emotional tempest within the library. Emily closed her eyes, allowing herself a moment of vulnerability, of admitting how much she was struggling. The minutes ticked by slowly, the storms howling a constant reminder of the turmoil outside and within. Slowly, Emily's breathing began to steady, the shared comfort from Marcus providing a small but significant reprieve. In that moment of darkness, Emily realized that while the road ahead was fraught with challenges, she did not have to face it alone. The storm outside might rage on, but within the library, there was a flicker of hope, a sense that even in the darkest moments, there was still a chance for change and healing. The night stretched on, the storm eventually easing into a gentle rain. Emily and Marcus sat together in the quiet library, the fire's warmth a symbol of the small but meaningful steps toward finding peace amidst the chaos. The first light of dawn filtered through the expansive windows of the mansion, casting a gentle glow over the rooms. The storm from the previous night had passed, leaving behind a crisp, clear morning. The mansion, now washed clean by the rain, seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Inside, the air was filled with a sense of anticipation and quiet resolve. Emily stood by the window of her bedroom, looking out at the garden that had been revitalized by the storm. The once parched grass now shimmered with droplets of rain, and the flowers seemed to stand a little taller, their colors more vivid. She drew in a deep breath, feeling a newfound sense of clarity. The events of the past weeks had been turbulent, but she could see the potential for renewal and growth. Today was a day for new beginnings. The conversations with Marcus had brought them both to a crossroads where the past could no longer dictate their future. It was time to embrace the possibility of a fresh start, not just for herself, but for Noah and the family they were committed to building. Emily turned from the window and walked towards the nursery, where Noah was still asleep in his crib. The soft morning light filtered in, creating a serene atmosphere. As she gazed down at her son, she felt a deep sense of responsibility and hope. Noah was a symbol of their future, a reminder of why it was so important to move forward with intention and love. The sound of footsteps approaching made Emily look up. Marcus entered the room, his expression calm and determined. He had been working tirelessly to implement the changes they had discussed, ensuring that their home and their lives would reflect the values they wanted to uphold. "Good morning," Marcus said softly, his voice carrying a note of optimism. "How are you feeling today?" Emily offered a warm smile, her heart lighter than it had been in weeks. "I'm feeling hopeful. It's a new day, and I think we're on the right path." Marcus nodded, stepping closer to her and Noah. "I've been thinking about everything we've been through. We've faced so many challenges. But I believe that together we can create something beautiful out of it." Emily reached out and took Marcus's hand, their fingers intertwining in a gesture of unity and commitment. "I agree. We've learned so much, and now it's time to apply those lessons to build a future that honors the past but doesn't let it define us." As they stood together, a sense of purpose and determination filled the room. The house, once a symbol of hidden secrets and unresolved conflicts, now felt like a place of possibility and promise. Emily and Marcus had worked hard to address their past, and now they were ready to move forward with renewed strength. Later that morning, Emily and Marcus gathered in the garden with a few close friends and family members. They had planned a small gathering to celebrate the beginning of a new chapter. The sun shone brightly, casting a warm, inviting light over the scene. The garden, with its lush greenery and vibrant blooms, was a fitting backdrop for the occasion. Emily stood before the group, her heart full as she addressed the people who had supported them through their journey. "Thank you all for being here. This past year has been one of the most challenging times in our lives, but it has also been a time of incredible growth and learning. We are grateful for your support and for the chance to start anew." There were smiles and nods of agreement from the crowd. Marcus stepped forward and added, "We've made a commitment to each other and to our family to move forward with integrity and love. This is a new beginning for all of us, and we're excited to see where it will take us." The gathering was filled with laughter, joy, and a sense of camaraderie. As the day wore on, Emily and Marcus spent time with their loved ones, sharing stories and making memories. The mansion, once a place of turmoil, now felt like a home filled with warmth and connection. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the garden, Emily and Marcus stood together, looking out at the scene. The day had been a celebration of their journey and the promise of a brighter future. "Do you think we've done enough?" Marcus asked, his voice filled with hope. Emily looked at him, her eyes reflecting the light of the setting sun. "We've done more than enough. We've faced our past, embraced our present, and made plans for our future. This is just the beginning." With a final glance at the beautiful garden and the people who mattered most, Emily and Marcus knew that they had come full circle. The darkest moments had led them to this point of redemption and renewal. As they held hands and watched the sun dip below the horizon, they felt a profound sense of peace and anticipation for the new beginning that lay ahead. The mansion, bathed in the soft glow of twilight, stood as a testament to their resilience and hope. It was not just a house but a symbol of their journey, a journey that had transformed them and prepared them for the bright future they were now ready to embrace. Click on the video being recommended to you now.